What if everything we're witnessing now is just the final echo of an era that once ruled the NBA with absolute authority? What if what we saw in June 2025 wasn't just another transaction, but the final period in a golden story written with sweat, talent, and courage? A page has turned, and perhaps it's the last one before a new book begins. The news struck like a sharp blade in the hearts of Warriors fans. Kevin Durant, the man who personified the peak, would not return to San Francisco. Contrary to what many dreamed, he would not wear the blue and gold again. Instead, his path took an unlikely turn: Houston Rockets. And with that, a cycle ended for good. The trade, revealed exclusively by Shams Charania, left no room for doubt. The dream of seeing Durant and Curry side by side once more evaporated like mist under the sun. Throughout the season, the rumors had built up expectations. After the Warriors' early playoff exit, the hope that KD's return could reignite the dynasty spread throughout the Chase Center stands. But reality is merciless to the nostalgic. Durant was more than just a star in San Francisco. Between 2016 and 2019, he became an icon, a two-time Finals MVP, a name carved into the history of the modern game. The chemistry he built with Curry changed the way basketball was played and understood. His departure years ago left a wound that never fully healed. The hope of a renewed partnership was the emotional bandage many fans silently held on to, until now. Durant moves on to a rebuilding team, while the Phoenix Suns turn the page. After a disastrous season with 36 wins and 46 losses, the project that promised titles with Booker, Beal, and KD collapsed. Budenholzer was dismissed, the roster dismantled, and the future became a gamble on youth and draft picks. Durant, at 36, remains individually brilliant, but for the Suns, he became a luxury that no longer fit the plan. The trade also involved notable names: Dillon Brooks, Jalen Green, the 10th pick in the 2025 draft, and 5 more future second-round picks. The Houston Rockets grow stronger. The Suns hand over the present in exchange for an uncertain future. And the Warriors? They're left staring into the void. Curry still enchants. His magic is still alive, but time is cruel, and the signs are clear. The young core meant to support the new cycle, with Kuminga at the forefront, hasn't matured as expected. And what was once a dynasty now risks becoming just a memory. Yet a spark emerges, an idea that once seemed absurd, a whisper that turned into a murmur and now threatens to explode behind the scenes of the league. Giannis Antetokounmpo might be on his way to San Francisco. Yes, you read that right. The arrival of Giannis would be the boldest power move since the Warriors brought in Durant. An ambitious, risky plan loaded with technical, emotional, and strategic implications. For this mechanism to work, 4 franchises would have to align: Golden State, Milwaukee, the Lakers, and the Mavericks. The Warriors would receive Giannis. The Lakers would absorb Draymond Green and Gafford. The Dallas Mavericks would include Gabe Vincent in the package along with picks. And the Milwaukee Bucks, reluctantly, would give up their 2-time MVP monster in exchange for a stacked package: Kuminga, Austin Reeves, Podziemski, Jackson Davis, and a series of first-round picks. It sounds complex, it is, but it also makes sense. Giannis is the kind of player who transforms a franchise, not just with stats, but with impact, mentality, and presence. Putting him next to Curry and Jimmy Butler, who would also be involved in this massive deal, would create a core capable of terrorizing any opponent. It wouldn't just be a restart, it would be an accelerated rebuild, on the edge of madness. But none of this would come without pain. Draymond Green would leave the team, not just as a player, but as a symbol. He's always been more than a versatile defender. He was the beating heart of the defense, the soul of the locker room, the flame of competitiveness. Seeing his talent go to a historic rival like the Lakers would have consequences beyond the sport, almost spiritual for the fans. The same goes for Kuminga, a diamond in the rough, a raw hope that could still become a foundational stone. Losing him now would mean giving up patience and faith in internal development. Even with all these sacrifices, there's a logic pushing the front office to the edge of this cliff: Stephen Curry. He's still brilliant, still lethal. But time is an invisible enemy, And for a player like him, ending his career without one last honest title run would be more than a disappointment. It would be almost a betrayal. That's why Jimmy Butler enters the plan as a key piece. Not just for his talent, but for his spirit. Butler is obsessed with winning. He's come close. He's faced the greats. He's carried average teams to nearly impossible heights. His presence, alongside Curry and Giannis, would form an explosive trio of talent, hunger, and grit. But there's another piece on this chessboard that could change everything. Kai Sotto, a 22-year-old center who's been attracting attention on the international stage. Standing 7'1", tall, with a refined skill set and a rare court vision for his position, Kai represents something the Warriors haven't had in a long time, a giant with tactical intelligence. His journey, marked by stints in Japan and Australia, showed his potential, but it's the NBA that defines who truly belongs. And entering the Warriors system, demanding, dynamic, tactical, could be both the greatest challenge and the biggest opportunity of his career. More than just basketball, Kai Sotto carries a flag. He represents a nation. The Philippines, who cheer with every step taken by their most promising son, would find a deep connection with the Warriors. The Filipino community in San Francisco is one of the largest outside Asia. Kai's arrival wouldn't just be about sports, it would be cultural. Imagine the Chase Center with Filipino flags in the stands, chants in Tagalog echoing, a new, vibrant, passionate energy. Kai wouldn't just be another player, he'd be a symbol. And more, the NBA is watching. Players who can unite cultures, connect continents, and attract new audiences are extremely valuable, far beyond the court. They become living brands, commercial bridges, engines of global expansion. But talent alone isn't enough. Kai needs to adapt, fast. The NBA doesn't forgive. He'll have to evolve in every aspect, physical, tactical, and mental. Every practice will be a test. Every minute on the court, a chance to prove he belongs in this unforgiving universe. But one thing plays in his favor: his hunger, his resilience. His journey, full of obstacles, has prepared him for this. And if there's one place capable of turning potential into reality, that place is called the Golden State Warriors. Kai Sotto, despite being young, wouldn't just be fighting for a spot in the rotation. He'd be carrying expectations that no other developing NBA player would have to face. It wouldn't just be about his skills or tactical adaptation. It would be about sustaining a legacy before even building one. It would be about becoming the invisible pillar of a new cycle that hasn't even begun, yet already bears the weight of what was once a dynasty. That's why his presence isn't peripheral in this equation. It's essential. Because while Curry represents the now and Giannis represents power, Kai could be the bridge to what comes next. The succession, the continuity, the silent answer to the collective fear that everything will end once the veterans are gone. And there's a cruel poetry in all of this. Watching a franchise that changed the game with agility, speed, and shooting now seek balance through strength, physical presence, and quiet renewal. Time has changed. The game has changed. And the Warriors know it. That's why the risk, however great it may seem, becomes increasingly necessary. The alternative would be to wait and watch time consume Curry, injuries drain Butler, and the market suffocate Giannis's talent in a Milwaukee stuck in a cycle that no longer delivers what it promises. That would be the scenario of stagnation. The NBA is not kind to those who wait too long. In a league where one bad season can be the beginning of a slow fade into irrelevance, Golden State doesn't have that luxury. Either they act or they sink with honor. But they sink, and there's a silent urgency in the hallways of Chase Center. Each silence from the front office weighs more. Each generic interview from Kerr hides more than it reveals. Each gesture from Curry carries a plea. Give me one more shot, because no one wants to see him walk out the back door. This pressure, emotional, strategic, and historical, is building, not just for the executives, but for the fans as well. Warriors fans aren't ordinary supporters. They witnessed history being made. They saw the impossible become routine. They saw the unlikely become legacy. And because of that, they now demand more than just a rebuild. They want redemption. Redemption for years of early exits, for promises that fell short, for drafts that didn't deliver, for talents that never blossomed. It's in that vacuum that the name Giannis echoes loudly. He's not just a player. He's a chance to reclaim everything that once seemed lost, to play with purpose again, to intimidate opponents before even stepping on the court. With Giannis, the team rises a level instantly. With Kai Sotto developing around him, the future begins to take shape without depending solely on risky draft picks. And with Curry and Butler by their side, the present becomes dangerous, very dangerous. And there's a detail that few are talking about. Kai Sotto's presence on the roster would also bring an added layer of discipline to the team, because alongside veterans like Curry and Giannis, he would learn not just how to play, but how to win. He would learn to speak less, observe more, to give everything in practice, to study the game, to think like the greats. And for a team looking to rebuild without giving in to mediocrity, that makes all the difference. Imagine the preseason, Kai being shaped day after day by coaches like Kenny Atkinson, by veteran mentors. Imagine the training footage going viral, showing the Filipino kid blocking shots, grabbing rebounds with fury, shooting with confidence, with Curry beside him, smiling as if to say, he gets it. That kind of scene can't be bought. It has to be built. And that's exactly what the Warriors are trying to do. Build the new without burying the past, evolve without forgetting who they were, change without losing their soul. But it's not all smooth sailing. Giannis's presence would require deep adjustments to the tactical system. His physical dominance and tendency to attack the paint would demand new offensive movements. Kerr would have to give up some of the philosophies that shaped the Warriors' game over the past 10 years. The fast pace would give way to moments of physical brutality. Spacing would need to be redesigned. The defense would have to become even more hybrid, switching intelligently and adapting to Giannis's style. Butler, in turn, is a player who needs space. He needs the ball in key moments. He knows when to take over and when to disappear. But that also means egos will have to be managed. The final minutes of close games will demand tough decisions. Who finishes? Who leads? This coexistence of three strong leaders, Curry, Giannis, Butler, can be both a gift and a curse. If the chemistry clicks, we'll see one of the most dominant teams of recent years. If it doesn't work, it'll be a silent collapse disguised by pretty stats. And in the midst of all this, Kai Sotto, learning, absorbing, growing, silent, but inevitable. And there's something inevitable about the Warriors' story. They weren't born champions. They were forged through the critics' contempt, the media's scorn, and the experts' skepticism. That's why this new phase, even with all its risks, carries the same DNA, the will to prove they still have more to give. If Giannis arrives, it won't be just for his skills. It'll be for the need to shout to the world, we're still here. If Kai is signed, it won't be just for the future. It'll be to show there is continuity, even when everything seems on the verge of collapse. And if Curry ends his career lifting one more trophy, it will be the perfect closure to a cycle that began in doubt and could end in apotheosis. Basketball is made of stories, but some, like the Warriors, are made to be eternal. And maybe, just maybe, we're about to witness the first chapter of this new era. Inside the quiet walls of the Warriors' front office, the atmosphere is one of restrained reflection. The gleam of championship rings on the shelves seems to look mockingly at every cap space spreadsheet, every trade simulation, every whispered phone call between executives. Because it's there, between cold numbers and warm hearts, that a decision is about to redefine everything. Not just the next championship, but the legacy of an entire generation. And that legacy has a face: Stephen Curry. Stephen doesn't demand. He doesn't pressure. He doesn't blackmail with interviews or subtle hints. But his presence speaks for itself. What he has already delivered would be enough to build statues in any city. But for those who truly understand the game, it's impossible to look at him and not notice one essential detail. He still wants more. Not out of vanity, but for completeness. Curry has never been driven by ego. His obsession is with harmony, with beautiful basketball, with that indescribable feeling of seeing the ball soar silently through the air and fall clean through the net as the crowd holds its breath. And that pursuit of perfection isn't over. But now he can't continue alone, and that's what the front office needs to understand. Every wasted season without a clear plan around Curry is more than just a lost year. It's a missed chance to end the era with greatness. His numbers are still spectacular, but he can't do everything. The weight of age isn't just in the knees, it's in the advancing calendar, in the friends retiring, in the new generation knocking at the door, many of whom never saw him play in high school. That's why Giannis's name never leaves the table. Because Giannis is the assurance that even with the departure of historic pieces, there will be someone capable of sharing the burden. Someone who doesn't play just for stats. Someone who also wants to win. Someone who also refuses to be just another player. And next to him, Kai Sotto, a perfect opposite, still raw, still far from the spotlight, but with a growth ceiling that few young players have, and with something many veterans have lost, the humility to learn. Kai arrives with his feet on the ground and his eyes to the sky. He knows he won't be a star on day one, but he also knows he could become indispensable very soon, and that's exactly what the franchise needs. A bridge between the past glories and the future promises. Behind the scenes, Kai's name is already being discussed with attention. Scouts have followed him for years. They've seen him fail, fall, rise, and now they see something rare in him, the ability to absorb, not just orders, but culture. Kai seems to understand that playing in the NBA isn't just about being good. It's about fitting in. It's about being part of something greater than yourself. And the Warriors are perhaps the best example of that. They've never been a one-man team. Even on nights when Curry looked like a god on the court, there was always a collective machine spinning around him. Draymond, with his fury. Iguodala, with his silent intelligence. Thompson, with his killer calm. Kerr, with his philosophy of total connection. That culture cannot die. And Kai Sotto may be a bearer of that torch. Of course, it's not about selling him as the savior, but as a seed that, if nurtured the right way, could bloom just as the soil begins to dry. Meanwhile, on the other side, Giannis would come in as the thunder, the brute force, urgency in human form, and the combination of his presence with Curry's finesse could be something the game hasn't seen yet, a new version of the perfect balance between technique and explosiveness. Jimmy Butler, in this scenario, would be the catalyst, the flame in the midst of the ice, the element that ensures no one gets comfortable, that no one lets up, that the locker room stays hungry even on calm days. But this new formation would demand deep sacrifices. Draymond Green walking out the door, despite everything he represents. Kuminga leaving before reaching his peak. Reeves, Podziemski, Jackson Davis. Each of these names represents a layer of the future being peeled away. And that's where the decision becomes almost philosophical. Are the Warriors willing to set the future aside in order to live the present with full intensity? They've done it before, on a smaller scale. They've bet on veterans when they could have developed young talent. They've chosen certainty over promise. But now the price is higher, because now it's not about reinforcing. It's about rebirth, and that takes courage. In the offices, the debates are fierce. Some argue to keep the young core, wait for natural development, save picks, plan with cold calculation. Others say the 2022 title was the last great act, and that trying to repeat the formula would be to ignore the natural cycle of things. But there are also those who believe there's still fire, that Curry hasn't finished his story, that Butler still has a war to win, that Giannis can be more than a statistical monster, he can be a legend, and that Kai Sotto can indeed grow under those flames. This discussion happens every day, between spreadsheets and training videos, between scouts and executives, between emotion and calculation, and in the end, a decision will have to be made. The risk is high, time is short, and greatness doesn't wait. Soon, everything may change. And when it does, the NBA will feel it. If you reach this point, it means you feel, just like we do, that this story is far from over. Whether you're a Warriors fan, a Giannis admirer, or someone who simply respects the greatness of Stephen Curry, One thing is clear. We're on the verge of a turning point that could change everything. So if you want to keep following every step of this journey, every backstage update, every trade, every play that could redefine the NBA, this is the place to be. Take a moment now, hit the like button if this video held your attention from start to finish. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a single update, and turn on the notification bell, because when this bomb drops, and it will, you'll want to be among the first to know. The NBA is about to change, and you'll be with us at the heart of the storm. See you in the next video.